Good morning, guys. Sorry about that. Just getting myself together. Good morning, Alan. You may well be the first. I'm not. Yeah, it's you and I think right now is maybe a few joining on another platform. Right, FTSE 100. Let's get straight to it because I've put a trade on the FTSE. And what I'm going to do here is edge into this if I can. So I'll give you my levels, but there's another option. There's another entry I'd quite like. I've put on some here because there's a potential for this to go, but and I'm not necessarily suggesting you guys do the same, but there is a FTSE shorts that I've taken, and I'm going to add to it in one of two places. So I've kind of got half the risk here. It's around about the 60, 70 level. Sorry, 60, 80. 60, 80 is the first part of the entry, but I'd quite like to see if there's anything else I can get in at the pivot here as well. So this is a just in case we miss it, and the 6105 probably will be the next half. So 6105. Now the other potential, so that's going to be a sell limit. Sell limit. But there'll also be a sell stop, and the sell stop's going to come in under the, probably have to get it under the pivot. Let's see where that is. See how close that is. Yeah, gonna have to take it under the pivot. So if it starts to break down the pivot, then we'll start looking at that particular price. Now it might take a little while, but 60.30 looks like another potential entry there. So, and that would be a sell stop. And this is like a scaling, if you like, because if it breaks this level, what I'd be expecting it to go, and if it doesn't go and it bounces here, then I'm just going to make sure that the trade is pretty much safe by moving stops on this one down. So, so giving us potentially a freer ride on that one. So a stop loss really has to be, well, that's my hard stop, but that's my soft stop. You know, if it closes above the daily pivot, then I will lose interest. But I'm going to take a trade around this daily pivot, so I want it to close up there just in case there's a spike that gets me in. Let's have a look where the hard stop. So the hard stop's probably going to be, let's call it 61.10 is the soft stop. Sorry, but the hard stop up at 61.70. So that's just in case of an absolute explosive move. So stop loss 61.70, and that's the hard stop loss. But the soft soft stop loss, I wouldn't want to see it above 61.10. So that's the plan. Okay, so I want to get in here again, ideally, and then I wanted to also add here. So I'm only half in right now, but I'd like to get another half in here. Now, if I have to add down here, I can only really get, maybe the full trade on down here, because it's just going to be too expensive. But let's see what happens. No problem, Alan. No problem. Let's see how we get on. Did I hear you say yesterday that you were still in the Dow to the downside? I read that right? Somebody was still in the Dow from before, which is fantastic. You know, there's a awesome, mate. Awesome. That's brilliant. Nicely done. Yeah, and I'd hang on to that as well. You know, because it was a pretty good price, wasn't it? I mean, if you managed to take the break of the pattern Here we go. We're coming down a little bit here on the FTSE, so we'll try and add at 60.26. Plenty of of space down here, but it is likely to bounce, and you know, really, you know, we'd almost want to be taking half. But I'll tell you the reasons that that I believe the FTSE's in a bit of trouble here. This is probably the main one. So we need to watch out for this. So if you do get into the FTSE, just watch out for what's going on with the pound. And the pound has strengthened significantly enough to kind of put the FTSE under pressure. And this really does become like almost like a swap trade. Yeah. It's a bit annoying that pivot's in the way, to be honest. Now, we might be able to get into this FTSE a bit earlier, but let's see. I mean, there is an entry here, but let's see how close that is. No, it's going to be a bit too close. Yeah, we'll add down there. We'll add down there. So 60.27 is going to be the next the add point on that one. Now the other one that we are in from yesterday is the Aussie CAD, which is pretty much going nowhere. I took a trade at the low and another one at the high here. And again, you know, this one's also got some soft targets here. Looking at the daily. So really, the stop loss on this one, if you're interested in trading this one as well, stop loss on this one is going to be these highs up here, 0.56. Now I'm going to I've put my hard stop in a much higher up here, but if it closes above this this area here, 0.95, let's call it 0.9562. Closes up there, then I want to be out of these positions. I don't want to hold on to them. So it's fairly tight, but again, just giving it. I mean, I'm giving it a lot of room. It doesn't need anywhere near as much room as that. So actually, these could be slid down a bit. Let's put them about there and just see what gives. But you know, again, I'm back to entry on this one, and I know. I don't think anybody was taking this trade yesterday, but it's still available if you're interested, and I'll make the case just so you guys can see it. And again, it's a swing trade. You know, I was talking yesterday about not yesterday, a couple of days ago about volatility and the fact that the market is just lacking volatility. It's just devoid of it right now. Doesn't seem to doesn't seem to want to play ball when it comes down to the volatility in the market at all. So that means we have to switch our horizons on that. That's problematic there. Hold on. Yeah, so we might have to switch our horizons on the trades. Now that means that when we're looking at our setups, rather than looking at intraday setups, we're looking at longer term time frame setups. Good morning, Emmanuel. And yeah, that's very true, mate. Yes, crypto is starting to drop down a little bit, isn't it? I was looking at that yesterday. I was looking to see if there's a trade in Ethereum, but and there was a short setup with trading Ethereum, but I couldn't quite justify the reasoning, so I passed on it. And sometimes you have to do that. You know, if you can't find a reason to get in, then sometimes you have to pass on it. So this is what we have with the Aussie CAD. You know, the price action has been a bit quite stable, and I think there's a case, as always, to be made in either direction. So let's consider the first one. Now the first one is, and this is why we need to make sure that we don't allow the market to close above that level and stay in. The first one's this, and it looks you know, very much like a a flag or a falling wedge here. I know we are Crystal. The name hasn't been changed. I don't know how you do it, and yeah, you know, it's one of those things that's beyond my pay grade. So I just I'm leaving things like that as they are. Tea and Hot Sauces are Orlando and Chloe, so it's a different show, but you know, it's all actions to wealth, so we're all in the right place. Shukri, yes. Well, we're talking about that. We just a bit of a correction in those cryptos, which is what we've been waiting for, isn't it? Now I'm going to have a look. You know, I don't really drink tea anymore. I used to, but I don't really consume animal products, and milk. You know, for me is a big kind of no go, and because of that, tea just doesn't taste as good anymore. So I'm not having that anymore. So I'm more of a coffee drinker these days. I can have that with oat milk. Right. I'm just checking out the price of my favorite Cardano, and that is coming down near where I'd like to get in. You know, 12 I would consider on that one, Shukri. I'd be considering 12, and possibly it might well be another scaling kind of scenario and situation. And this time I will hodl. I will definitely hodl this time. I wish I'd had the hodl knowledge the first time round. I'd have been in the 8s. But no big deal. Maybe it comes down to 10. We'll talk about ADA in the US show later, because I'll show you the levels that I'm interested in. What we got? Can't remember. Yeah, sure. Oh no, it's no apologies, Alan. No apologies needed there. Cardano is now currently trading at 13 cents. It's a, you know, I mean, we can't get into pricing's cheap and expensive. It's really you know, it's really bad practice to think of something as cheap and expensive. I think as Shukri illustrated with, I'm going to use the wrong word. Is it yam or yak? I think it was yam. Yam would have looked cheap, and then it goes to 0. So let's have a look at the Kiwi yen, and then we'll come back to the FTSE in a minute. Kiwi yen, where is it? Here we go. All right. So the first thing that we want to do is have a look at the price action and make a judgment call in what should we be doing with Kiwi yen. Now I'm gonna leave this question open. When you look at this chart as it is, does that look to you like a day trading chart, or does it look like a yam? There you go. Does it look like a an intraday chart to you? In actual fact, we can go right the way back. There, yeah. What does it look like to you, day traders, or does it look like a an intraday chart? So you're looking at end of day trading effectively. You know that there's two definitions. You're either a intraday trader, or you're an end of day trader. You're a swing trader. So who's asking the question about this? Emmanuel. Oh, Emmanuel. Now I know you're a day trader, right? You take your patterns on the daily charts. Is that correct? Okay, so we got an intraday. Thank you, Sweet. And Emmanuel. Okay, so I can tell you just looking at this chart. This is a day trader's chart. You know, it's not an intraday chart. There's not enough volatility, and the volatility you can see by the small bodies of these bars. You know, they just don't exist. So it is a day traders day traders market. This end of day traders market is swing trading. So what we're looking at is longer term time frame. So this is really the process you need to follow, Emmanuel, or you should be looking at when you look at this. If you're a day trader, then you never start with a daily chart. You always start with a monthly. Now, what is the monthly trend is the first question. Now, you're looking at a long, but actually, when you look at this picture, does it suggest long, or does this actually suggest a short? This is the most important time frame that you can deal with, because this is the primary trend. So if we're thinking that there are three major trends or three significant trends in the market, you get the primary trend, which is months over months. Sorry, months to years. You get the intermediate trend, which is weeks to months, and you get your minor trend, which is your days to weeks. So if we're looking at this, we're starting out on if we're looking at a daily setup, then we need to know what's going on with the primary trend. You know, what's the general direction of this? And you can see this, so don't need to ask you this, but what's the direction of this? Is it going up or down? If we consider the most recent price action from left to right, that's going down, right? So the first thing that I'd be doing is looking for shorting opportunities, not long opportunities, because your short opportunities at this particular stage look like they have a higher probability of working out, because you're with the major trend in the market. Now, of course, you may be trading a turning point, which is different. You might be trading this if you see a turning point all the way down here, then that might be a different story entirely. But you are approaching significant resistance up here on this one. Yeah, it's down, isn't it? So this is the thing, mate. So when you're looking to trade this, then you have to consider that first and foremost. What is the direction of the trade, and also look at this bar on the monthly. If you'd seen this price action on a daily chart, you would be looking short. Now we know that that really the close under this area is the significant area. That's what we need to be looking at. So let's have a look at some of these price points. So that's what it looks like on a monthly. Now, if we flip to the weekly just for a bit more clarity, we're seeing that this weekly bar here is suggesting that there might be just a little bit more upside before we go anywhere. And the daily also suggesting, as you say, and I think you're right, this daily is suggesting currently that there's upside day over day. Month over month, we're looking at downside, but day over day, it certainly does look like there's some upside. Now, if this was a volatile looking market, that would be a really good intraday trading opportunity. And then you would, possibly come down to your hourly, and you'd be probably trying to pick it up here for a long. But as we're trading end of day, what we have to surmise from this is that there's just no trade, because we have this potential resistance point on the daily chart. So what I'd now want to see, I think looking at this as a potential trade of trading opportunity at some point is absolutely fine. But what we'd want to see really here is price to fail getting through this point, and then give us some sort of reversal. So then we can trade it down and see if we can get through here. And if we get through here, then it becomes an add point. So we can put maybe half on at this point if it turns, and see if it comes down and through our level, and then half on here and see if we can then ride it down. Or alternatively, what you can do is put a whole one on here, take half here, and if it comes back, no big deal. You may be trading some stops down. But then if it comes through, you add your extra half here. So you've got two potential opportunities there to trade this, and it looks pretty good as well. So I like the Kiwi yen a little bit early. You know that the picture's not clear, but certainly you would really be probably wiser at this stage to look for short opportunities rather than long until this upper level gets taken out. Now that doesn't mean that there's not 250 pips up to this point here, or available. But I would suggest if you're going to be trading that, you should be looking on an intraday basis, not on a day over day basis, because by the time you get in, you got quite a lot of risk really before you get the opportunity there. So that's my opinion on the Kiwi yen. And really, if it breaks above, then you've got the opportunity to go long. But that's a long way off by the looks of this. So Kiwi yen for me is still in short territory. Yeah, which is a good bar. It's a really good bar to look for an entry on. But if you think about even sort of like considering what's going on here on this daily chart, on this daily time frame, you've got really a series of a higher high here, and then a lower low. This point is lower than this point, and then you've got a lower high. So even sort of like considering what's going on just on this short-term basis, it pops up there a little bit, but then you get the lower low down there. So there's even a lower low there. So I'd be looking to see whether you get a lower high here, because that's really what's going on with the trend within the pattern. I mean, it is a pretty ugly pattern to have to trade, and I don't love it. But within that pattern, there is potentially a lower low that might be on offer. And then you're seeing whether you get the true trend starting. It looks like that there's a few. What are the risks here? And the risk really is it takes off to the upside, which is another reason that you want to get as close to this point as possible. If you're going to go for a short, you need your signal, obviously. But if you can get a signal in this area, then you might well have an opportunity to short this one from here. But going long here, when you've got a down, really sort of like a downward movement within the pattern, and here's the pattern, and it looks like the pattern might even be kind of this head and shoulders thing going on. It's pretty scruffy, isn't it? So this could even come down there and then pop again, and then start to see us down. So there's a few things that might take a while to unfold. But the long and the short of it is that this is kind of currently going like that, which is certainly more downside than up. There's pressure to the downside there. Let's have a look at the H4. I mean, the problem with a trade at this particular stage is I would want to see. Well, let's have a look actually. Yeah, definitely. Off the yeah, you can. You see, the question is what's it bouncing away from, and I can see that this is bouncing away from the weekly pivot. So yeah, there might be an opportunity there. I mean, but as far as price action goes, or as price goes, that's the obvious point now. So I'd like it to take a look at 70.12 really before I traded that one short. But if it looked at 70.12 and managed to come down a bit, then I'd be quite happy to take that. Yeah, weekly pivot moving edges are great. I mean, I still prefer it to bounce off price personally, a price point. Weekly pivot's okay. I like weekly pivot and moving averages as confluence areas, but let's see, actually, there might be a price point here. Let's just check this lower trend line. Yeah, that lower trend line looks pretty good, and it might even tuck in a bit. Yeah, it might even tuck in. Maybe we're getting a couple of touches here. It's a bit messy. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good, doesn't it? When we look at maybe what was going on here, and actually looking at this, yeah, I think you might be right here, Alan. I think the 4 hour chart is the one to be looking at, because to me that looks like we got this going on. And because of that, this is now a break of the head and shoulders. So yeah, a signal bar there would suggest that there is some downside on this 4 hour. I like that. Good spot, mate. Well, if it's not, if it's a fat one, then that's no problem because if it's a fat one, it just tells you that you know the price point might be a bit early, so no big deal. But definitely one for the watch list, isn't it? Kiwi yen on that front. So I think that's okay. That's all right. You know, the fact that you've got a price point it's moving away from. We'll check a fib as well. Yeah, nice fib, 61%, 61.8% retracement off this area as well. So there's a lot, actually, there's a lot of confluence here, suggesting that this area is going to struggle to get through here. Stops, in my opinion, should be above the trend line. That'll get you well and truly out of trouble in case of a spike, maybe even a monthly pivot, but then you're really 66. Now let's just see what that would cost. Yeah, you get a 1-to-1 if you went above the monthly pivot as a hard stop. You know, it doesn't have to be a hard stop, but as a hard stop, you could go above the monthly pivot there. FTSE's taking a bit of a cruise to the downside currently. Just checking out this FTSE here. Yeah, the FTSE's edging lower here. And there probably is. Oh, you didn't get in. Well, it's no big deal. I think there might be another opportunity later on with the FTSE. Really, with the FTSE, what we want to see is for some of the other major markets to also just collapse a little bit. I mean, you know, is this really gone? It hasn't really gone, is it? And look at the monthly pivot's likely to give a bit of a bounce point here, but at least these stops actually could go to break even fairly soon. So that's one aspect of this that I quite like. Let's see if that gets us over the trend line just about. Weekly pivot looks like the best area, but that'd have to come up in the next hour or so. Oops. Well, that looks pretty good, doesn't it? Right, what else was it? So we got the Kiwi yen we had, and I'm sure somebody else had something else. Oh, Swiss yen on the daily for a long at the bottom of the channel from Sino. Let's check that Sino. Yeah, I do see that. Okay. Yeah, now this one's better, you see, because if we look at this on a monthly, this is certainly starting to turn. You know, we've now had on this one with the break here, we got this lower low here. And if we're sort of like considering that this was our kind of previous area, then we get this higher high. And this is all in the primary chart here. And then we get another higher high. So we got a higher low here. and then the higher high here. The issue with this one is that on a month-over-month basis, it looks to me like that may well be very, very near the resistance point on that. So, oops. So again, I think a really good one for the watch list. And, you know, we've got to be careful not to grade these in the wrong way. You know, we're grading this that it's a good trade because it looks like it's going, but actually, when you look at this, it looks like it's one for the watch list rather than one that that should be getting us in at this particular stage. The monthly charts is telling us that there is some fairly significant resistance here. So for that point, it would suggest that it would probably weaken a little bit first. Does that make sense, Sino? Just making sure I can get back to your post here. Yeah. So you got the bottom of the channel. And the bottom of the channel, I appreciate that 100% that you've got this going on. And I really like that, you know. But day over day, that looks to me like it's potentially going to run out of steam fairly soon. So that might not be the best opportunity, and that would suggest that I mean, look at this on a 4 hour. Exactly, mate. Yeah, yeah. Actually, was it Cadmium we were looking at? No, it wasn't. Was it? We'll look at that in a moment as well. So with this one, you know, it's caged here. In an actual fact, you know, if you were to tighten this up and go towards that, and it's difficult drawing trend lines because there's so many different ways that there could be. But if we go with convention, we got close price trend line, which you get from your line chart, or we've got the wick price trend line, which you're going to get from just looking at the wicks on a candlestick chart. So the close price trend line, it looks like we are there for a potential move down. Let's just check this on a chart with pivots as well. Right on top of the weekly pivot, it does suggest that this is another potential shorting opportunity. The daily pivot is you know, hugely problematic, and this bar is hugely problematic on the 4 hour, taking out these areas you know, fairly significantly. Look at the FTSE run now. So I mean, you never really do miss out on it. It's there's a lot of volatility this morning with the FTSE. So actually, this is better. This is what we want to see when we're trying to day trade, something like this. Now I'm going to put in another position here. So I'm going short here, and I'm going to go short here if it comes up. Unless now, if this closes on the hour with a hammer, I'm going to just close this position. I'm not going to trade against a hammer probably, unless the pound is strengthening, which it isn't. You know, the pound is weakening here. So that doesn't really make a decent case for the FTSE. Now, if we consider what could be driving the FTSE 100 specifically here, then in actual fact, I'm going to close that off because I'm not so keen on that actually here. Just closing it down on my others as well. Yeah, that one's lost its shine. Yeah, that one's lost its shine somewhat because really, if we think about you know, what's going on with this price action, it's pretty manic, and also where's our driver? And all we need to do to check out where our driver is look across the board. Let's have a look across the board here, and S&P, really that's that's pushing high. That's currently pushing high. We might be getting a bit of a blowout here, but so I think there's probably a safer way to trade this. So S&P is pushing itself higher. The Dow is also looking pretty hot right now. I don't know if something's going on out there. We'll have to check that in a moment. The Nasdaq, not so much, but maybe more telling is the fact that the pound is under some stress here. The pound isn't really taken off to the upside. Let's have a look at some news and data. So that trade in the FTSE is out at little or no loss, which is good. And it could be a timing thing. Maybe we get the FTSE later on. I'm not going to trade it in this session now. I think I'll let the market settle down a little bit. I don't mind unsettled if it's going in my favor, but when it's not, the picture doesn't become clear anymore. So let's see what we've got in way of news and data. UK inflation jumping in July. Data shows most COVID-19 transmissions happen in homes. And that's a UK thing. Okay. Little report here. European stocks slipped on Wednesday, failing to draw strength from the record run in the Wall Street's S&P. As investors fear the resurgence of coronavirus cases. That could dent a nascent economic recovery in the continent. Yes, it could, but I wouldn't be trading off the back of that. Now, I wouldn't mind trading the FTSE if we get I think I might let that settle down, actually. It really is it's too all over the place for me. I'm just going to check the barometers here. Right, let's have a look under the hood and see what the shares are suggesting. Oh, hold on. Website I need is not working out. Right, FTSE 100 currently is actually pretty good. It's around about 58% of stocks in positive territory. So I'd say that the short is not something that we can trade right now. Yes, the dollar index is again. Well, it hasn't really gone anywhere in the last few hours, has it? The dollar index. So not really anything to report there. What have we got with the euro? Let's have a look at the euro dollar. I mean, this is the proxy for the dollar index. It's pretty dead. It's pretty flat. Again, euro dollar is on a is in a sell zone. Yes, there's an inverted head and shoulders right here. But we're on the neckline. And because we're on the neckline, Move that there. You see, we're on the neckline here. And because we're on the neckline, we may as well wait for a break and a retest of that neckline rather than trying to trade it here. I don't think it would be sensible to try and take that one on. So I'm going to pass on the euro. You know, I'd be passing on the euro dollar at this particular stage. That doesn't look to me like it's in a decent enough place. Now, when we were talking earlier about the Kiwi, I think it was, this would be an area for a turning point. So it's okay to not look for a trend here on a swing traders basis. In these areas, you can look for trends on shorter term time frames. So the monthly is suggesting it's right on top of an area there. So that means if we come down to the weekly, weekly still, you know, it's parabolic, but it's still moving to the upside. Same with the daily, you know, putting in a fresh high here. So this is still trending long at this particular stage. Now Jules called for 120, and he may well end up being right. But there's our low point there, and there's our higher high here. So really, that, you know, the convention would say that that's going to come down to around about this point here, and then go again and try and touch that that upper trend line. So not really a great deal to do there. Let's check on the 4 hour on the shorter term timeframes here. Uh, 4 hour tells you that that is frozen in time, right on top of the daily pivot. So this is really telling me that the dollar index has got no direction. And you know, I've just looked at a dollar index chart, and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere. Nor is the VIX, incidentally, even though it's potentially putting in a reversal signal as well. So I don't see anything too dangerous there, Shukri, with that. We should have a quick look for that point on silver. Yes, a selling opportunity. You know, looking at reversals here. Let's have a look at silver on a monthly. Difficult one because this isn't on a sell zone when it comes down to a trend line. But is it on a sell zone here? Just about, isn't it? Just about. So you could plump for some downside with silver with that kind of chart pattern going on there. But it would be a dangerous play, I would suggest, with silver. And let's just pull up a fib on this one as well. Lowest point to highest point. Right, it's just above the 61.8, so it'd have to get under that level, and then you've got the weekly pivot to contend with. So a few problems with silver if we were looking to trade that. And gold, where have you disappeared to? There she blows. Gold the same. Month over month, breaking out from the previous high. So not an area and not a level that we can trade off, just a pattern. So there's quite a few things really that we need to consider there. So I think a bit of a choppy session might be ahead. Now I'm just going to check on the data points. Oh, and then Chloe's joined us. How are you doing, Chloe?
I've got to apologise in advance if you hear any background noise. I have taken the opportunity while Ben is away to invite a decorator to.
Oh, very good idea, Chloe. Very good idea.
We've been very strict with our social distancing, so we've been doing some decorating in the house ourselves. But quite frankly, in my state, I am fed up of it.
Yeah, so, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I've snuck some people in to the house while while the cat's away, they say.
Yeah. The decorators will paint the house. I know that phrase.
We'll see how much they can get done before he comes home.
Amazing. Well, we've got a market which is kind of maybe in a bit of transition yet again here, Chloe. I was just checking up these data points.
Sluggish, isn't it? It's a bit. A bit lacking in excitement.
It absolutely is. Yeah, absolutely is. You know, I think you know, we do need to kind of like switch our time horizon here, which is absolutely fine. And with the UK, just bringing this up, we do have some fairly good numbers from the UK. CPI month over month does not suggest that the Bank of England are going to have too much room to be lowering interest rates. Now, remember, the big target is 2%. That's the target point from the central banks. It seems like the accepted number is 2% worldwide. So accepted number at 2%, and core CPI came in at 1.8%. So very close to that 2%. CPI year on year up 1%, and PPI outputs, but not great. Retail price index as well is for what's going on with the buyers, affecting the consumer. So can Mark Carney effectively, not Mark Carney, what am I talking about? Who's the new guy? Andrew something. Can't remember his name. Can't remember his name. Mark Carney's a lot more celebrity, so I always remember him. But can the new guy at the Bank of England do anything in as much of lowering those, pumping more stimulus into the economy at the danger of it overheating on price? When you look at these now, one swallow doesn't make a summer. We know that, but what we also know is that these numbers are getting fairly hot. Look at the trend to the downside here. 2018, really, they started to drift down. It looks like we've broken through a fairly significant. Andrew Bailey, that's right. Thanks, Emmanuel. Looks like we've broken through a significant level there, and the 1.8 is very, very close to that 2% target. Now that's only 1 month. Sorry, that's only one read of the core CPI. So we want about 3 of them to get a fairly decent picture on that, but that doesn't suggest a weaker pound is on the offing, which is potentially, again, not very good for the FTSE 100, but maybe much better for the pound. The numbers we need to be watching next, obviously, are from Europe. But so far, it looks like downside FTSE could still be on the cards, but we need to see that pound. We need to see the numbers actually be reflected in the price action with the pound. And then we can maybe make some decisions on that. Philly Fed minutes from the United States. So we've got some movement maybe from the United States tomorrow, and on Friday, lots of really big numbers from the EU as well. So there are some things out there, and I wonder whether we might pause before that those particular facts are reported. Let me just check one other thing here. There are some numbers from Canada. Interesting stuff going on in Canada. Trudeau getting rid of his finance minister and appointing somebody else, but it looks like at the advice of Mark Carney. But the market didn't seem to love it. Let's have a look at this M1. Yeah, we need to see the M3 there, really. Few things out of Canada later, so I wonder whether this might be a little bit of a and maybe the crude oil inventories might be a little bit of a driver later on. But that's where we're at, Chloe. Where are you at? What are you looking at, and what's your current approach in this market? Because it is a difficult one for intraday, in my opinion. So I think the longer term strategies are much more likely to win out. So I would have thought in this period.
Longer term, and what that means is we've got a bit of sitting and waiting to do. I'll share with you a couple of things that I am looking at potentially intraday. Let me just grab the screen. So I noticed you were looking at gold. And Orlando and I were having a chat about gold the other day. Now, obviously, we have seen a stonking move up on gold, and then a pretty big and fairly sudden drop. Found support at the monthly pivot down here and is headed back up. In terms of daily trading, in terms of what's happening on the daily time frame, it is officially still in an uptrend because we haven't had a lower high yet. My expectation is that we will have a lower high. So that means that while I am a trend trader and I will still continue trading with the trend, I have to do that with a little bit of added caution. I'm certainly lowering my expectations for how far price could potentially go.
I think this is you make a really good point, Chloe, actually, and really valid. And I think for any new traders, it's quite important to know when you say about you're anticipating that the potential for a lower high, but you need to continue with the trend. What about that? I mean, you're looking at a daily time frame there. That break that we saw, that big bar down, was it on the 11th last Thursday, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That break down, breaking through the a previous support line. I know it's only one bar, but breaking through when we saw the 24th of July, the little down move there on the 24th of July, breaking through that, does that not give you the lower low? Where do you define your trend low? Where would that need to get to for you to have a lower low?
Yeah, it's a really good question, actually, Ash. Because, yes, I suppose, let me just get my little pen up here. What you're looking at here is that being a high, that being a low, and that being your new high, and therefore this coming down and actually giving a lower low. And that's quite right, actually. But I'm looking at more overall at the bigger picture swings. And the biggest picture swings here for me, really, I can see cyclicity from the bottom here. I can see cyclicity over here. That one I don't see as a cycle, not on the daily time frame. That would look like a cycle on maybe the 4 hourly or hourly. But for me, that's really consolidation, a little bit of consolidation there, and price is continuing. So for me, this potentially could still be seen as a higher low from this previous low over here.
And why do you define it that way? I mean, I guess I know the answer, but why would you define it that doesn't provide? Is it because it's one bar that it provides? You know, why is the previous area not consolidation and a swing, whereas that one wouldn't qualify?
It's not because it's one bar, because that is definitely a
Oh no,
big
when you were looking at the cycle,
one over here. Yeah. Okay, I see your point. It's because it hasn't come back far enough.
Yeah.
For me.
That would really be my interpretation too.
Yeah, because when I look at cyclicity, I'm looking for areas to get into and out of the market. And if I were to want to get into the market at this point, I would want to know that I was getting in at the lowest possible price in order to take the next swing. So this for me is just really in the middle of the up move. It's not the cycle hasn't ended at this point and pulled back. It's just stalled, it's hesitated for a little while, and then it's carried on. The other thing that I would say, these two horizontal levels that I've got marked in here, so that one there is the all-time high. So if we go to the monthly, in fact, I'm going to just get this chart up instead. If we go to the monthly, that level there is the all-time high from the previous all-time high from back in 2011. And this level here is significant, what was significant resistance, now potentially significant support. So those are the only two levels that we have from historic price action that we can use. Apart from that, it is just what we see on the chart right now. Let me just get rid of those actually to avoid confusion. So what I'm looking at on the chart right now is I'm expecting this uptrend to end at some point, but from experience, expecting trends to end doesn't make me any money. I'm a trend trader and I trade continuation of trends. And while I'm not trading this on the daily time frame because I'm expecting the daily trend to end, if I go down to something like the 4-hourly time frame, I've actually still got here a higher low and a higher high. And importantly, what has happened is actually this formed a new level of resistance above my all-time high and above my previous level of what was resistance, now support. This was a level of resistance that formed around here. We broke to the upside, we've smashed down through it, but now we've come up, broken through it again, and now potentially could find support here. So I'm not saying that price is now going to continue way past, 2,100 or whatever. I'm not saying that this trend is going to continue forever, but while it is still trending, my strategy dictates that at this point, because I've got a level of support here, potentially, I'm going to be looking for longs. I'm just not going to be looking for ambitious longs. I'd like to be able to perhaps take some profit at around this previous high, around this level here, certainly not past that level there. So there are still opportunities. One thing I noticed, Ash, you mentioning, which I know that you trade a lot based on price points and chart patterns and areas. And that is the one thing that I would say, even though I'm saying there's a potential trade setting up here, it's not an area. It's not really a strong price point that's based on monthly or weekly or even really daily pricing. The best trades are to be found at those areas when you've got a real reason to anticipate or expect a big move. This is just a little trade that would tide me over potentially while I'm waiting for the proper big trades. And because price is still trending for me at this point, especially on the 4-hourly time frame, my strategy dictates that I will be looking out for a potential long entry, but I'm not expecting it to go as long as obviously down here, the beginning of the trend. So it's something I'm still looking out for. And again, if I don't get a decent setup at that area, then no big deal. I'll just wait. Maybe this is going to be the lower high that I'm looking for on the daily time frame to dictate a change of direction for a while on gold. So it's all really about just being a bit patient, reducing risk while you don't have the best trade setting up. But I personally don't trade based on an expectation of a trend to fail. I trade based on an expectation of a trend to continue. And that is, that's how I've been trading for a long time, and it's worked pretty well. It's worked pretty well on Aussie dollar, which I'm still in. And a lot of people were saying that around this area that trend had gone on for long enough. And I was thinking, oh goodness me, I've just got into a trade here, and everyone's saying it's going to turn around. But my strategy dictates that I have to trade trends. So that's what happens.
Yeah, well, I like that, Claire. I mean, I think it's I think that the longer term timeframes, as I said before, are the best approach right now, because there's just no volatility at the minute. It's very, very low, and until that comes back, then we should not be looking at day trading, intraday strategies. In my opinion, I think they become a lot harder. So looking at those longer term swings are just a bit more simple to look for. Can I get your opinion on the Aussie CAD? Now, that's Aussie a trade that I've
certainly can.
I'm always looking at the Aussie CAD.
Are you looking at the daily time frame or something lower?
Daily well, I mean, I'm always looking at every time frame, but yeah, okay. The daily is what's triggering my interest.
Yeah, so my opinion on the Aussie CAD, I'm just going to remove a few of these just to get them out of the way. So Aussie CAD, this is where we definitely can see a lower high and a lower low. There is no doubt about that at all. Whereas on gold, it was more of a kind of a move and then a consolidation and a continued move. This is definitely, we can see the cycles, we can see those highs and lows, and we can see that that is a lower high and a lower low, having just seen, in fact, a head and shoulders.
Yeah.
So that is a potential reversal signal. Now, what's happened here is that head and shoulders neckline has been broken and retested. Sorry, my line is rubbish, but you can see what's going on there. It's been broken and retested. So right now is really the decision point. Is price going to come down and fulfill that break and retest and start a new downtrend, or is that price now going to get back above this level here? And that's really, we're right at that decision point as we speak. The fact that price has managed to get back above the monthly pivot after testing it yesterday and failing, there are obviously still buyers in this market, so I wouldn't be ready to press sell right now. But I'm certainly losing faith in the strength of any uptrend that we did see throughout July. We've certainly seen that at the kind of tail off. So I would be pretty reluctant to be looking for long opportunities. I mean, I definitely wouldn't be trading this long on the daily time frame, even though we've had a bounce from this moving average here. I definitely wouldn't be looking to trade this long on the daily time frame. Intraday time frames, perhaps I wouldn't rule out. Let me just have a look at what's going on the monthly there. See, we do have some support around here as well. Sorry if you've already gone through this, Ash. I'm sure you probably...
No, do you know what? This is a trade that Jeff and I have been looking at for a few days, and I got into it yesterday actually.
Into it short.
Into it short, yeah. I'm short in a couple of places, but my recent short is just under well, basically right on top of the monthly pivot. And, you know, the way I see it is if we take out yesterday's bar and hold there, then you know it's all out, it's all off for me. But if we don't, then we've got a really nice price at this monthly pivot area.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I mean, and I'm sure you mean, about price points, price patterns, and getting in, planning your trade for weeks and getting in at the right time. This level has been here since 2016, 2017. So yeah, you might wait a few months for price to get up there, but when it does get up there and you see a head and shoulders pattern, that's a reversal pattern, you've got to be thinking, what do I now need to see in order to trade? And yeah, things like monthly pivots, really nice area. If you see any kind of bounce from a monthly pivot, then that's a great place to look out for a trade. So yeah, I completely agree with you, Ash. I wouldn't be trading this long anymore.
Yeah, there's also a fib as well on the monthly pivot. Now we are through that area, so it's a bit dangerous, but we're only through at what is 9 o'clock in the morning, so it's got plenty of time to kind of get back down again. But there's a 50% retracement of the last move down, around that monthly pivot. So there's confidence there. But yeah, as you say, interestingly, there are still buyers that are really keen in this market.
There are.
I wonder whether that finance minister story is some of the issue.
Yeah, perhaps. And you did say there was OPEC.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there's
yes. On the CAD.
OPEC meetings and also some crude oil inventories as well later on today. So there could be a few stories that hold this one up a bit.
Yeah. Let me see if there's anything. See, there's nothing really on the intraday timeframes that I would be particularly interested in to the upside at the moment. Even, you know, you can see there are buyers right now, but there isn't a trading opportunity long. And even if there was, it wouldn't be a very you know, it wouldn't be very long before that turns around again, I don't think. Aussie CAD is one of the least bullish of the Aussie pairs, in my opinion. I am still bullish on some of them, but Aussie CAD, I would say that reversal pattern there, definite lower high and lower low. If I were trading this long on the daily time frame, I'd certainly be looking to take profits and start to slim down my position. The other thing, I've been looking at a couple of yen crosses. CAD yen, I quite like the look of, because CAD yen, I've got this level of support here from last year, and price has come up, it's broken through that level and is currently bouncing from that level on the daily time frame. And I've got my higher low and higher high. So CAD yen is definitely something I'm interested in to the upside around about this area. It's a bit of a shame that yesterday we broke down below that weekly pivot. I would have liked to have seen a bounce. And in fact, I did actually have an order in the market yesterday. I had an order in the market just here. And it didn't get entered it didn't get entered in, and prices come down, but I'm interested in that to the upside. If I can find something to get in with, then I'm interested to the upside. I guess I better stop rambling, Ash, because have we gone over time?
A little bit. It's all good though. But
good.
yes,
no one waiting.
No one's waiting
to get in after us.
No one's waiting. No, we're okay. But yeah, I think we're pretty much there anyway. But we will be just looking. There may well be some opportunities later on in the day, but I'm just on hold right now for everything else. But that CAD yen I'm sticking on to here, looking for a short there on Aussie CAD. Yeah, sorry, that's the one I'm short on Aussie CAD.
Aussie CAD, yeah.
And we will discuss more in the later show. But thanks very much for coming in, Chloe. Have you got your tea and hot sauce later on?
Tea and hot sauce, yeah. You know, I was a bit concerned about that name for the show, to be honest. I didn't choose it myself.
Oh.
And I was worried that people would think that I was going to be the hot sauce. But no,
yeah,
that's not the case.
Know Orlando, that could
Orlando has taken on the mantle of being the hot sauce, and I'm the nice, gentle, calm cup of tea. So that works fine for me. I'll sit and have a cup of tea and a chat with Orlando. And yeah, we're going to do a little bit of market analysis, and that is in about 3 hours from now, I believe.
Fantastic. All right, guys.
I might have got that wrong. More than 3 hours. Something around there. The time differences, I just can't get my head around at the moment.
Yes. Well, enjoy the rest of your morning, and I hope the decorators do a good job.
Yeah, me too.
For the rest of you, I will see you later on at 1:30 actually on YouTube for a free half hour. Chloe will see you later on in about an hour before that, I think, or at least half an hour before that. You're more than welcome, Emmanuel. But have a great rest of the day, guys. We will see you later on for a few updates. For the rest of you joining me in the US show later on, Jeff will be back with me, I believe. So, we'll all have a chat then as well with Jeff. But have a great morning, great afternoon, wherever you are, great evening. And we will see you all later on. Thanks so much, Chloe. See you soon.
No worries. See you soon. Cheers.